My name is Aleksandra Jarosz. I was before making small indie games. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't. It's fine. I also was doing dialogue systems there. Currently, I'm working for Program Studio. It's a studio in Vienna, so I emigrated because I'm originally from Poland. And we recently announced next SpongeBob game. We work on the Rehydrated before, and also on Guild Free. And I was working on a Guild Free project. So as you can guess, I was making dialogue systems there. So before we will start, I have like a warm-up question for you, also because, you know, I see we have more and more interested people here, so more people to talk to. So have you ever experienced that situation where somebody tried to solve a poor production with text and dialogues? Like, okay, we don't have time for proper tutorial system, so just put text there. Or, you know, our lore or like our world building is not really matching the art, or we have some other problems. Just put the NPC that have the dialogue that will explain why our world has no sense. Like, I mean, it happens a lot because people think, developers think that text is easy, cheap, and fast way to fix stuff like that. Then we are ending up in a situation where we have a lot of poor written text, poor used text in poor context, and people are skipping dialogues and cutscenes, and they don't like to read it because it's just poorly used. And then we think that people don't care about it, which is totally not true, because story is one of the main selling point of many games. So before we will jump into our digital world, let's think about how the dialogue look in real life, you know, like everyday life, if you have a dialogue with somebody, sometimes maybe. So if you think about dialogue, you think about two people talking to each other, yeah? Like, person A says something and person B is like reacting to it, like, I don't know, can smile, can say something, can punch them. You know, you have like that like exchange of information. And yeah, like the dialogue is like, if we simplify it, is exchange of information, but it's not only this. It also allows us to build relationships, and also allows us to like build that mutual understanding what is happening in other person's brain. So thanks to that, we can reach that moment that we can sit here in that hall together, and we feel rather comfortable. We are not really afraid because we kind of know what happens in other people's minds, and if we don't, then we can communicate with them and like learn about that. But the dialogues are not only the base for human-human interactions. It's also base for human-computer interaction, and therefore we have a lot of dialogue systems and computers in games as well. So if you would simplify the whole process, it would be just, also like base for a lot of stuff in games. Like you have performing actions, so you are saying something. You're receiving feedback from your interlocutor, from your person you're talking to, and you say something again, for example, or react again, and it's like a cycle going through. I mean, it's nice to think about it that way. However, if you think about your life and how you interact and talk to each other, well, okay. Then you realize that even if that really basic, really simplified schema seems to work, we have a lot of variations there. For example, right now we have that really asymmetrical communication. I'm talking a lot. Yeah, you are just sitting and listening. There will be a time in the end where you will ask questions, or you will share your opinions, or you will like say, I don't agree, or, you know, and then we have it more equal, but it still will be really, you know, I will take most of that time. Sorry. But if you think about like job interview, also like usually you have really strict questions and you have like specific type of answers you can give. It's not really flexible. If you think about like, I don't know, diagnosis system, like if you have the diagnostic tests or stuff like that, also the answers are really precise. But if you would try to use that form in flirting with somebody, like having a list of specific questions and going through it and asking and having like, how old are you? And they need to answer, starting with a year and then the month and then the day and all of that. It wouldn't work rather. I don't know, maybe somebody tried it. Maybe it's more, like as a joke, probably it would be nice. But even like if you think about chatting with your friends, you can chat in the cafe, like drinking coffee and having a like nice environment. It will be different talk when you do it through I don't know, Slack or Discord or something like that. It will also feel different if you will call them and or you will send them the letter. So even if you have the same people talking about the same thing, but the form matters as well. And today I will focus mostly on that form and on those, like when I was working with dialogues and text in games, when I was creating those systems we needed or tools, I found out that those 5 categories were helping me thinking and asking questions about, okay, how that functionality will look like and what kind of decision we want to make about this or that. And I won't give you a lot of writing advices. I mean, a bit, but not really. I'm not focusing on text, like on letters per se. I'm focusing on the form of how we are interacting with the text and with dialogue and with NPCs and all of that. So right now I will go through those 5 and I will have some game examples and we'll chat about those categories a bit. I mean, it's not like definite collection, right? It's just what I found useful for myself. And later on, we will go to guilt-free and what we did there, what we could go do there, and then we can talk to each other afterwards. So, space. It's the most basic thing. So you need to ask yourself, okay, where the dialogue takes place. Is it some special mode in the game, or is it during the main gameplay and happening a bit like on the side? So a lot of people think that having it like really integrated to gameplay is the best way, like because it's like you don't have any dissonance, like everything is like it should support immersion. And here we have example from like Last of Us, but this is in a lot of other games that you have a dialogue while you're doing something, you're exploring or you're like picking up your loot or stuff like that. And there's that quiet moment where for example, some supportive NPC can funnel you what you should do next, or like say, oh, what a great job you did, or give you a bit of lore and stuff like that. However, if you look at Pathologic 2, what they did there, they created a separate dialogue mode. So in this mode, you saw the character you were talking to in really like dramatic lighting with really really strong expressions. It's a bit like in theater, and you are focusing only on that person, only on her or his face or their face, and what they are saying, and only on that conversation. And it's also powerful and also is really valid. The thing is that there is no good solution, bad solution. It's like what is useful for the message you have in the game, or what is useful for achieving the feeling you want to give to your player, right? By the way, I love the game, so I don't know if anybody played it. Is anybody who played Pathologic too? Oh, God, nice. Okay, so next thing is control. I mean, generally control is really important part of making games in general, because players like control. If they wouldn't like control, probably they would watch more movies, right? Or read more games. Read more games. Yeah, we also can read games, books. So In dialogue, the control is about who is taking initiative, who can start the dialogue. Only player or NPCs as well, or system maybe, just because through the cutscene or stuff. Like that is important because usually it takes the control from the player if it's not only player, and it can lead to frustration. Also, can I break the dialogue? Can I walk away? Can I skip it? Can I cancel it? But those are like really important questions, and they will also influence writing, and it also will influence how the dialogues will be treated. And sometimes you cannot allow to skip, or like you sometimes cannot allow to give the full control to the player, because sometimes you are providing important information for it. But why it is like really like sensitive topic is because if you are taking control from the player, they are pissed, or maybe not always. There is a possibility, you're making a possibility that they will be pissed and frustrated. It's like, imagine you're commuting back home, or I don't know, you are in the train or something like that, and you see some familiar face coming to you, and you like hope just to sit alone with your thoughts, or listen to music, or like just like have that 5 minutes for yourself, and that person, your colleague, is approaching you and is like, hello, and he's like starting the conversation, right? If you're in the good mood, then it's fine, and you're happy, but sometimes you can be like, I didn't want this now. Can we talk later? But you won't say it, yeah? I mean, it's rude. Maybe some people have that self-confidence and they are assertive enough to say that, but so you need to really think how, if you can give that control to the player, just give it to them. It's better to say, oh, there is a pending dialogue, you can talk to me if you want, I'm waiting for you. Even it's a bit artificial, but you are not creating a frustration, than like just like punching them and like, now you will talk with me, right? But probably that's something you also can relate to. And the third category I'm using for myself is like the expression we are giving to the player during the dialogue. I mean, of course, if you have like linear narration and you don't have any branching, usually you have like very distinctive main character, like protagonist you can identify with. And then like that expression is like fixed and is like, like reserved for that specific character. But if you have some branching, then the player can express something. Their personality, or personality of the character they are playing. And usually you will work like with two types of those kind of systems as a designer. So you can have like finite state, where you have like if you think about the dialogue tree, that's it, yeah? Like you have nodes, they are connected to each other, there are like specific conditions, and you can go from the node A to node B or C only if they are connected. So it's like tree dependent, and it's like the context also dependent, so you cannot jump from all the nodes, and creating it like flexible. It's really predefined, pre-designed, and it takes a lot of time to do it and write it and test it as well. Or you can have a bit more flexible system, where it's very popular in like services right now, that you have a bot. This like you're typing some question, and I don't know, about some services, and the bot is trying to answer based on what you wrote, or keywords, tags and stuff like that. And it's flexible because the system builds the answer from many places. It's more, it's defined by the input, not really by the place where we are in the graph. And probably I will maybe skip one thing. Who knows that game? Okay, for people who don't, you should. So it's a Facade. It's pretty old game, but it's really important or interesting, intriguing, and you also can like try to break it and make really awkward situations. So basically you are like here, maybe you can see it, you're typing your line like in the chat, So you're invited to your two good friends for a dinner. They have some, like marriage drama going on, and you can like talk to them, like directly typing. And they are reacting on you. I'm not going in detail how that system works because it's like documented multiple times. If you are interested, just Google it and find it. But the problem with that system, I mean, it looks great. Yeah, there's another game, a newer one, Don't Make Love, and there you also like talking to your lover about your relationship, and you can type something, and as you see, the system will create the answer based on what you said. It's dynamic. It's not predefined because we don't know exactly what the input will be. However, yeah, we don't really know. We need to guess a bit. And there is like really funny situation when in Facade you will type melon, and they will be outraged. They will be so pissed at you, they ask you to leave. Do they like hate fruits? Like, I don't know what's going on there. I mean, there is a reason why, because it was interpreted by devs as a word that can describe like women breasts. That's why. But the thing is that also the guy can make you a drink. Maybe you would like to have it with melon. I don't know. But that's the problem, that it is really easy to break immersion and you don't have a control really. So it's like risky, it's flexible, but it's risky. Like and if you have a game about love and relationship, for example, like here, breaking an immersion, it's like huge thing. Like if you have a service and the bot won't understand you, it's like, okay, you kind of expect that. But if you have a game and you want to be immersed and then they are like outraged after melon, then you're like, okay, is it? I remember this the game now. I mean, maybe I was immersed, but now I'm not. So with expression, we have more things. So let's say that we have the finite type of systems where with trees and stuff, because that's the most what you will work with. And you have some branching to make it a bit more interesting that you can express. So how you will organize those responses, like how it will be shown on the screen. Will we have a full line? We will have only direction. We will have only icons or gestures, like how we will organize it. We can also have it in the hub structure. In old RPGs, it was pretty, like in also detective games, I think it works very well. So you have like the list of questions and you can go back to it. Or you have like the context-dependent dialogue options, yeah? Yeah, that I already said. So how we represented them, and you can do it in many ways, right? You need to think what fits to your game. For example, in Planscape, they didn't give a like. They put 18 options, full line. You have your time to read it and choose it. Because why they could do it? People love the game. I mean, I also love the game. Right? People love the game because they can self-express. Because they have a lot of options and they really can choose, even if it's like fixed system, right? But the main selling point of this game is narration, is really deep story, and yeah, the people are like prepared for that. I mean, I hope still it would work, I don't know, but the game is great. Yeah, right now when we are looking at more modern RPGs, I mean, we streamline it. It doesn't mean that it's bad, like it's fine. Maybe it's enough for this. It's more action-focused game. It's fine, yeah. But you need to. What is important though? Is it here already? No. What is important though that. The people can guess what the character will say, and it's never out of the character. Like, even if the line is short, and you cannot put the full line what, for example, Witcher will say, because it's too much reading, people don't like to read, then you need to make sure that there is no disconnection, like between what the line suggested and what you say. It's a danger, right? So you need to really be careful about that. Maybe sometimes it's better to make it a bit longer. People are not like, they will be frustrated to read a bit. But if they don't read, they just choose the shorter one. Yeah, another option, another like really nice dialogue system I saw was in the Card Shark, where you are play as a mute character, and it's fine that you cannot speak, but you still can express yourself, right? So it's not, some games are like using that mute character that, oh, you cannot talk, so we don't have a dialogue options, and they're like, it's not excuse, I'm sorry. You can do it, if it's good for the game, of course. So you can like choose the expression and like be still there. And it's, I think, more streamlined and easier, even if that game is really like narrative heavy, like it's really well written game, but you also can have really streamlined dialogue system there, right? So it's a lot of stuff you can do. It's a fourth category, so we are close to the end of this part. So what kind of value that specific dialogue has for the player? So if we would focus on who speaks to whom, so if we have like the system talking to the player or player to the system, then it's mostly like controls, UI, hints, stuff like that. So we are not really like focusing on this during the talk. You have NPCs talking to NPCs, so you are like passing by and hear something, or in the cutscene, you are mostly will see it. It's mostly used to give you information about quests, about the world, what kind of state the world is, like also to like pat the player on the back, and it's like, oh, you did a good job, or so like we see your achievements, we see you, we appreciate what you did, or we don't. And also we have like the situations where the player talks to NPC, or the NPC starts the conversation with the player, and there you have like the direct progression in the game, but also you're building that relationship with the characters, which can be also this. So I mean, NPCs are important, and they are giving you important information, but if you used it wrong and, for example, interrupt something else, people will skip it and they will be like, okay, I don't know what I need to do. So I mean take care of your NPCs, that they are heard. Generally, what else the dialogues can do? Like, exchanging information about the game and what I need to do, building a relationship. Also, self-expression is a huge one, especially for RPGs. But also, the dialogue can be a puzzles itself. And there are like type of games. Who played that one? Nice. There are like specific types of games, dating sims, where building the relationship with characters is the main part of the gameplay. That's the most important one. It's the biggest value for the dialogue. Also, we were talking about the people don't read and they don't care, right, about text and dialogues. It's not true. People care a lot, and they also build real relationship with those characters, in the sense real. I mean, they have real emotions about them. Yeah, so they don't want to be beaten. Probably it's way. I remember myself playing Witcher 3, and I was like running through the city, like typical power gamer, running and like collecting everything and like don't give a fuck. And then I pushed one of the pedestrian, and that pedestrian said, "Ow, that hurt." I was shocked, like, wow, oh my god, I hurt that person, like through interacting like physically with the NPC, and I stopped doing it because I didn't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Some people also use it as a like the background, like playground for exercising their social skills and how the people will react if I would be mean to them and stuff like that. But yeah, let's go further. You also about the self-expression. You can express not only like your personality, but you also can express your political views or moral views or philosophical views, and also like get sometimes decent partner to like hear something back in the feedback. And that is also the place, I will maybe a bit provoke you, there is a place where you can also self-express yourself as a developer. And also, but self-expression can be also smaller. It doesn't need to be that huge. Yeah, like it's like for the jokes. But the truth is that if I give my player a choice between no, nada, not, it is a value, because I feel I can do that. I can choose. Today I feel like nada, and it feels better than just look at it, because I have control. If you can give the player control, you give them control. Easy. Also, sometimes it can be just funny. Like if you look at the last example, it's like, okay, I mean, I can do it just for laughs, but it gives what the games should give to the player, so fun. In Psychonauts 2, they are doing something a bit crazy. So you can like build a bit like a dialogue option through platforming and puzzling, like connecting words, and then the idea or that idea will pop in the NPC brain, and it will like, it's important for the progress of the game. But the interacting with the text is totally different. They're in the game and it's part of the puzzle. There are also games like that, Osir, the Insult Simulator. Who knows that one? I think probably a lot of people, yeah. I thought so. So here, like having a dialogue is the main like gameplay, yeah. Like there is a puzzle itself, the challenge is in there. So the value in dialogue systems can be really different and needs to fit to need for your game. Not all games need really elaborated dialogue systems, but you need to know what that gives to the player, like to be able to design it properly. There is also something like, some people name it like systematic interaction. So if you played Fable, for example, and you wanted to start a romance, you're just like executing action, like, I don't know, give gift, and I don't know, say compliment or stuff like that. And there is not much. Like the quality of the conversation is rather like, it's a shallow like it's not really, it doesn't feel real, but there is a gameplay effect, and that's why you're doing it, not for the text, not for the narration, for the gameplay effect. However, it does not need to be always like really simple one-step, two-step interaction just with the game effect, because in that game, I don't think I need to introduce, we have a similar thing. So if you want to establish a relationship with somebody, you're executing, make a joke or like, I don't know, chat or something, and you're just watching them. But because they are expressing what they say through those bubbles with those icons, which are like a bit enigmatic, then you as a player express, like you are projecting what they could talk about, and you are projecting it on that, and it's also part of self-expression, so you can do that to some extent, and it is huge value for the game. It's huge value for the players, because they really feel that they are real, you know, people, and maybe they're not really real, but they have their own personalities, they have their own, I don't know, way of thinking. I don't know, that guy, I mean, there is a fire and he's talking about peace, right? Like that's more important. Like, so you can do a lot. And the last one is time. And time is like next to the control, time is next, like huge topic for games. So there's a lot of questions you need to ask yourself. So when it happened, like when the dialogue happened, where the cutscene happened, how often, how long it takes, can I look, do I have a history of the dialogue? Can I take a look before what happened, which is pretty common among visual novels. Can I skip? How can I skip it? So all the timing of the dialogue is like really, really important, and really it depends like how action heavy is your game, and like what kind of role the dialogue has. Is it only like some additional information, or is it crucial information? So all that is important. And the game that used it it's excellent use of time in dialogues is like Oxenfree. I don't know if you know that game. Probably yes, or maybe not, but if not, then try it out. So here the dialogues feel really natural, because through most of the game you are walking and the NPCs are next to you and they are talking to you, and you have really a limited time. They are also time for the reply. They have a limited time to choose their dialogue option. Like real life, you know. In real life, we don't have half an hour to like think what I will answer to that person right now. Maybe sometimes we should, because then we are like picking up something fast because we need to say something because it's awkward, and then it's even more awkward. But sometimes you can just say nothing, and it's valid option too. So that timing in those conversations is really nicely handled, and you as a player, you also have a control over the flow and the pacing of the dialogue. So, and last thing that is outside of those 5, but I want to say it because it's really important. You can make the best dialogue system ever. You can have the best writers and the best text, but if the reading experience is not good, then it doesn't matter because they won't read it. So put also a lot of effort that the systems and the texts are presented in the way that you are able to read it and it's not tiring and all of that. And now we would go to guilt-free, but before that I will make I will let your brain to like relax for a moment and also show you that people read and people like they pay attention to dialogue. So could I ask for the yes? I hope it is one. I don't know. Yep. Do you remember that line? Yes. So, yeah, that is also like a bit of a point of my talk, that it's not easy to make small talks, like the system for small talks like that. I mean, they are giving a lot to the game, but people really pay attention. And because that line is really distinctive and it's written in the way that, okay, you have so many guards, they're using the same lines. It's not like really, like the context is not really like how to say it. They don't have really different lines because they are in different city or different part of the world, or they have different gender or stuff like that. It's like, they have similar lines, and people notice it, people remember it. So that's the best like example of that. It really matters. And I have another video for you. So before, maybe we can try it with a sound this time.
Dark Middle Ages are about to end, and a new era begins. The age of the free cities of trading and
so
of the free mind.
So that's the game I was working on.
Welcome to the Guild 3.
It's the Guild 3.
The Guild 3 is a unique mixture of economic simulation, RPG, and historical life simulation. Your ultimate goal is to create a family dynasty which can last for centuries. One important aspect is making money. So the motto is, get rich or die trying. For this, the Guild 3 offers over 25 different professions to choose from, ranging from farmer to barber, or tinker, or even gravedigger. Each profession allows you to build a business, like the barber's hut, and offer your services and to produce your first goods there and sell them on the nearby market. Over time, you will step away from making your own hands dirty and hire workers and transporters, establish more businesses, and eventually control a crafting and trading empire. But becoming an honest craftsman and a renowned merchant is just one part of the Guild 3. The two other important game aspects are politics, we will come to this later, and the creation and expansion of your family dynasty. Once you have some workers to do the work for you, it's time to get romantic. Find a partner, settle down. If you want, you can marry. The marriage will not only give you access to a new pair of hands to work in your businesses, but is also the starting point to get one or more heirs for your dynasty, as your main character will get older and older and eventually leave the realms of mortals. When you've been diligently producing children, You can control each of them as a playable character. Make sure they get a proper education by stacking crates on the nearby market, or hunting rats. Or if you've already made a fortune, you can even send them to school. It's the Middle Ages after all. To strengthen your relations with other important families in your city, you didn't think there was no competition, did you? One of your options is to marry one of your children to one of theirs. This way, you'll even grow your family further, as your new son or daughter-in-law will also become a part of your family and a playable
character. It's a
character.
Austrian way to
And
do
of course, they
diplomatics,
can
right?
take on the task of getting children. Make sure your ever-growing dynasty has enough shelter for all its members by building a new, more representable house, which will also reflect the rise of your social status. Which brings us to the next important aspect of the Guild 3, politics. The Guild 3 has 14 different scenarios, most of them being well-known cities in the heart of Europe. Your dynasty may dwell in London or Vienna, in Hamburg or Warsaw, in Prague or Paris, and many more. But besides money and new relatives, a family needs power. And power comes with getting yourself known in the city and positioning yourself into an office, be it the gatekeeper, the tax collector, the captain of the guard, the chief judge, or even the mayor. To take office, you'll have to throw your hat in the ring and be appointed by people holding superior positions. And there are multiple ways to get their attention and their approval. Bribing, charming, and even more violent possibilities. But of course, all illegal activities may backfire on your reputation. Still, setting the workshop of a competing family ablaze is a very effective way to dampen their ambitions for a while. Hiring some crooks to kidnap a rival would also do the trick. Also, there are 5 powerful guilds in each city, like the Guild of Craftsmen, the Freemasons, or the Thieves Guild. You can try to attract their interest through acting in ways they appreciate. Play as a righteous artisan, or follow a more criminal path, for example. Members of these guilds are among the most respected people of a city, as they can rely on the support of their fellow guild members, and can take part in special events, such as the construction of a cathedral in a nearby city. The Guild 3 is a sandbox adventure. Whatever path you choose, there are many ways to transform your family into a legacy, your name to a legend.
So, so you have a nice introduction to what the game is about and what to expect. Have you played the earlier Guild 2, for example? Okay, I think probably it's more popular in German-speaking market. As you saw, there's a lot of building relationship with other or dynasties or NPC. Generally, it's a multiplayer game. So if you have other dynasty, is just the AI that pretends to be a player. And just to give you a bit of a history of the project, because it's a bit troubled one, it was challenging. So that you already know. What it is. I mean, I can only say that this like that unique mixture of that economy simulation, there's a bit of strategy game. You have like that life sim and role playing elements. So making a dialogue system for something like that is challenging. It's not that easy. And we start the game started to be developed in 2015 by Canadian studio Golem Labs. It went into early access in 2017, but THQ decided that the quality is not what they wanted, and they moved the production to us because we are saving games or something. And we deliver the game this year, June. So we were working on the project, we got the project from somebody else. A lot of stuff already were there. We had a lot of probably having a talk about how to take somebody else's project and fix it. It could be, maybe the whole conference could be about that. But the dialogue system was something we needed to put on top of all the other systems because the game is filled with them. Because players during the early access gave us a feedback that, they don't feel immersed in the world. The world feels like dead, and it feels like collection of props with a nice, maybe, weather effects, and that's it. So we needed to address this problem. We wanted to, make the world more alive, and also we have those RPG elements. So every character has their own stats and can have items and equipment and all of that. So we also wanted to use that more to make more use of that system. And we have 3 main systems there to make it happen. So first one is NPC chats. So it's like NPCs talking to each other on the street. You could see it in the video. The independent characters that are not part of any dynasty were just wandering around, talking to each other, doing some, sitting on the bench or doing a lot of different things. And when they are talking to each other, they can comment on your actions, or they can share some personal information, stuff like that. And if you think about, if we are taking those 5 categories we were talking before and apply it to what we did, the space where those dialogues take place is gameplay, because everything takes place there. We don't have any special mode, so it will be true for all our solutions. There is no control from the player really. Because it happens independently, but the player is not forced to take part in. They can only observe it or they can ignore it. That's the control they have. So maybe they have a bit of a control. It's not total nothing. They cannot really express themselves that much because the lines are pretty direct. But the value is that the player, first of all, can believe more that those NPCs are real people having their own struggles, their own lives, personalities, and also they are commenting on events in the game. So it feels like the world is interconnected. Like if there is a plague, for example, or there was somebody died, they will talk about it. So that is making the world a step deeper, more believable. And there's limited amount of those chats you can have in the map. And they are also 2-liners. They are really short, so it's really dynamic and really additional thing. So that's basically how it looks. And if you wonder, now if you're a designer, you should have thousands questions but what they are talking about, how you define those stuff, right? So the system behind it is based on the topics. We have list of different types of topics, and those topics can be connected to some condition that needs to happen in the world, or it's without a condition. Those without conditions, we need to have them a lot because we don't know really what kind of state the game will have at the moment the player will play it, because they're making a lot of decisions there, changing the system. So, but the ones with the conditions are the most satisfying one, because, for example, you married and you are well-known character in the city. A lot of people will talk about it. They will even use your name and the name of your spouse, and they will say, "Oh, they married. Have you heard of that?" And also, poor people will say it differently than nobility or the commoners. Women will talk about it differently than men. Kids will react on it differently because we have filters, and we need to check who is speaking to whom. What are the valid topics? Also, topics have priority. So if the sovereign, so like the most important official dies, that's the highest priority. So even if I have a list of other interesting topics, the probability that they would choose the topic about the sovereign is the highest, but it's not 100%, right? Sometimes it's more dynamic, that feels more random, but there's a lot of additional things that we needed to add there, except writing, right? Because writing is just a small part of it. Writing also, it was also a bit challenging, because imagine, you need to write the dialogues for anybody in any context, like, I don't know, day, night, whatever, any age, any economy, being in any economic class. So a lot of those needed to be really neutral, and we needed to really craft it carefully. We needed also to add a special kids filter, because yeah, we had some dialogues about beer and we couldn't really let kids talking about that, right? And yeah, that's what I was talking before about the wild cards. So the NPCs are using real names of the things, real names of the persons and characters, which makes it way more personal and more immersive and more believable. And as you see, yeah, like the poor class characters will have different struggles. They will talk about different things than the rich people, like the businessmen, right? Additionally, we have something for people who love history, because it's like heavily inspired game by history. We have a guard who is announcing real events that took place in the past if your game reached specific time, specific year. So it's like, you know, that is also like stuff we needed to do. Like it's also like additional system for the NPC chats, right? Next. A point of interest. So it looks really similar to the previous one. The thing is that the player has way more control because they can create those point of interest. So for example, you're boasting about your achievements. You want that people talk good about you. So you are just executing the action boast, and it's like it is in specific area, and NPCs can choose to approach you, stand by, and like chant or like cheer or like be, I don't know, not really happy what you are saying. It also happens, you saw the guy with the violin. It's also, people can gather around the concert and like give their critique, for example. And here you would think that, yeah, okay, it should be, what else should you add there? Next to the classes and genders and stuff like that, we needed to create like the whole pool of lines. The NPC need to choose only one. They will repeat it, but not all of them will talk, and not all of them will talk at the same time. So like timing here is also like controlled by the system. So there's a lot of details like that you're just passing by as a player, and probably you will read those two lines and don't think much about it. But to make it really not disturbing and not breaking your immersion, there's a lot of really, you know, like fine cutting work. Like if you would make a sculpture, that it is like, you know, smooth and nice. You also can be a preacher, so you can speak to the people and they can, you know, express different opinions. In the back, you see that one small icon, the three dots. That's like the indicator that there is some dialogue going on. So if you go in there with a camera, you can see it. But if you don't care, you don't care. It's not really filling your screen with text all the time. It's only when you want it. There are also events, the point of interest, like fire, for example, like something that is independent from the player. And yeah, they're also reacting on those events in the world. So it also feels like, yeah, they see it, they react on it, they are trying to do something with the problem. Because I have not much time, so I will skipping a bit for it. And the last one, and probably the most like interesting one, is the action dialogue. So it's something like, okay, yeah, it takes place in the game. A player has a full control because they are executing specific action, like, okay, say compliment on specific character, and that character needs to reply to them if they are not busy with other action. Player can express themselves through the dialogue options. Value to the player is not only building relationships with the other dynasties, but also in gameplay effects, of course, but also they can express a bit themselves finally. And they have a control over time. The time for the respawn is limited. So how it looks, you can execute. You are trying to get married and produce offsprings, like we learned before, and you need to have a spouse. So you need to be nice for a moment and say compliments and give gifts and you build a relationship. And you execute the action, for example, embark the romance on somebody, our character approaching that person, and now we don't want to force people to take part in the dialogue if they don't want to. They don't need to. As important, that was one of the most challenging elements, that all the dialogues are totally optional. So I get the prompt that, okay, there is a dialogue going on. If you want to take part in it, then pay attention, because you have limited time frame to make the decision. And if you decide that you care about this character, you want them to have successful romance, you're going in, and then you see dialogue options that are predefined by the stats of the player, of the character, that specific character, not the player. And you see here, the first and the second option from charisma and intelligence is the same success rate, right? I mean, there is no big difference. We needed to add those numbers because people here are really focused on, getting most the highest numbers. So they wouldn't appreciate if they wouldn't know exactly if they will be successful or not. So you can express yourself as a player. First line, second line, whatever, it rather will be successful. If you want to choose and you decide to ignore the dialogue, the first option will be chosen. And you also can skip ahead. But here in this scenario, for example, the first option is only 45%. So it's not really, you rather won't make it. And we are, with this, we try to encourage people to rather take part in those dialogues, because they also gain something out of it gameplay-wise. Because you need to understand that our players are not the people who are all the time interested in dialogues and the narration. It's from time to time. When they feel like it, they want to have it more, and when they are really trying to get more money, build new buildings and stuff like that, they want to be not disturbed with that task. And here you also see the wild cards we are using during the ceremony. In the video, it was an old video, you don't see the dialogue is there, so you also can feel a bit involved and role play a bit and see the whole thing happening real. That is fine. In the court, you also can you can execute different actions, like for example, accuse somebody of making crime, and in front of the court, there's also dialogue going on. You don't need to see it, you don't need to interact with it, but if you want to be there and see how the people are reacting, what they are saying, if you want to know right away if you're guilty or not, then you also can go in. So we have a lot of actions with those dialogues. And it's not only for romance, it's also for other things. So just to summarize, because I think we have not that much time. So space is about where the dialogue takes place. Is it a special mode? Is it in gameplay? Up to you. What kind of control player has initiative? Do they start the dialogue? The NPC starts the dialogue. Is it the cutscene that is triggered in specific moment of the game, of the progression of the game? If you can give the control to the player, expression. So how big expression you can give to the player. So how many dialogue options you want to provide? Do you want to provide dialogue options? If yes, how, in what form? Is there a like time box for replies and stuff like that. Value for the players, why, that's one of the most important probably, why are even making that system for them, what they are getting for this specific dialogue, and if they get this, how other elements need to align to support this value, because that's the most important part. Because that value will define the space, the control, the expression, right? If it's only like a fluff about, oh, what's the state of the world, then then I don't need expression there to be high. If it's like establishing a relationship with other dynasty, then maybe I want to, role play more and play this fantasy more. And the time, how long, when can I skip it, how can I skip it, do I have a limited time to reply? And a small Easter egg, I'm in the game. So if you decide to play it after the talk, you can find me there. Thank you for listening. If you want, you can check my Twitter. And now we will make that whole dialogue more equal, because it's time for some questions. Thank you. And if you have some question, then put your hand up, and then you will get the microphone, and then you can be heard.
Thank you for the talk. I was wondering, when you were pursuing immersion, I think when it comes to dialogue and simulating humans for players, it's easy to spot fakeness and like find out, oh yeah, that's a game mechanic, that's not natural. And I was wondering how you designed the start of conversations between those NPCs, like the small talk between them. Mm-hmm. Like, do they interrupt what they were doing and find out where one another is and talk to them, or is it more natural? Is it random? Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so generally in Guild we have like action systems. So the NPCs, it does not matter if it's like AI or like independent, they have like the list of actions they're executing. A bit like probably Sim-wise. And they have action wander around and they are just walking around, or they, for example, later on they can have an action chat to somebody. And they are finding not the target that is not busy and it's filling the requirements. So it's like other independent NPC that's not doing anything else than wandering or waiting, And they are approaching that person and talking to them. So we are not interrupting their actions. However, if we are talking about the action dialogues, that you can execute it only on the actors that are not busy at the moment.
Thank you.
Hello. I have a question about working process and pipeline when you are working on those dialogues. Like you have the writer, probably someone have written those dialogues first, then
it was me.
Okay.
Most of the cases, not everything.
So how did you proceed from like having an idea for the dialogue through all those steps where you have it somewhere on the disk, in the documents, finally in the system?
Yeah, I cannot really speak about details, how we are exactly working with it, and also it's a bit long question. So if you want, we can talk about it like afterwards, if it's fine, because it's like really a long thing. But yeah, it is relevant. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I mean, there is another lecture, so I will be outside, and if somebody wants to talk with me, then I'm happy to have a dialogue with you.